7 days later, the entire mansion was overflowing with people. Guests had already arrived from every direction. Relatives, business associates, acquaintances, filling every corner of the house with noise and movement. Some were busy with the finer touches of decoration, adjusting flowers, lights, and fabric of perfection. Others rushed in and out of the kitchen, where the maids were tirelessly. No matter how food they prepared, it seemed to vanish just as quickly. One group finishing, another already asking for more. Meanwhile, workers worked around constantly, attending the guests, solving problems, making sure everything ran smoothly. It was chaos, beautiful organized chaos, because today was the waiting day suddenly. Sia, a sharp voice echoed from upstairs. Sia, I told you I don't like this dress. Sia's voice rang out in frustration, breaking through the noise of the house. Mrs. Choi rushed toward her, lowering her voice urgently. Mrs. Choi, Sia, speak softly. The whole house is full of people. What will they think? But Sia wasn't listening. Sia, I have told you so many times, Mom, I'm not wearing this. Mrs. Choi frowned, clearly losing patience. Mrs. Choi, this is ridiculous. You chose this dress yourself that day, and now you are refusing to wear it. Sia crossed her arms stubbornly. Sia, I don't like it anymore. I want different one. Mrs. Choi glanced at the clock, her worry growing. Mrs. Choi, there is barely any time left. The groom's family has already started arriving. He will be here soon, and you are still not ready. Sia, I'm not wearing this, she repeated firmly. I will go and choose another one myself. Mrs. Choi sighed deeply. Mrs. Choi, why do you need to go? I will tell them to bring options here. You can choose from those. Sia, and if I don't like those either, she shot back instantly. I will go pick it myself and come back. I will get ready here. Mrs. Choi stared at her, disbelief in her eyes. Mrs. Choi, do you really think you can manage all that before the wedding? Sia lifted her chin confidently. Sia, yes, I'm sure. And there was a moment of silence then. Mrs. Choi, fine, she said reluctantly, but don't take too long. Sia's face lit up instantly. Sia, thanks, Mom, she said almost too quickly. She turned, grabbing her things in a rush. Buy wine, and just like that she left hastily, almost too eagerly. Mrs. Choi watched her go, a trace of unease crossing her face, but she quickly pushed it aside. Then she turned toward you. Mrs. Choi, I will ask the beauticians to get you ready and wear this dress, she said, handing it to you. You looked down at it. Mine. But I am already wearing a dress. I will just wear this one. Mrs. Choi's expression softened, a hint of emotion in her eyes. Mrs. Choi, I searched so much to find this dress. I would be very happy if you wore it. You hesitated, your fingers tightened slightly around the fabric. You glanced up and saw the hope in her eyes, that silent expectation, the warmth. Fine, okay, you say softly, I will wear it. Mrs. Choi smiled immediately, relief evident on her face. Mrs. Choi, good, I will leave you with them then. Let her look beautiful. She instructed the beauticians. Of course, ma'am. With that, she left the room. He stood there quietly, holding the dress unaware that step by step he was being dressed not just a bride, but as someone else entirely. In the car, Sia leaned back against the seat, her lips curled into a satisfied smile. Finally, after so many efforts, she had managed to get out of the house. Her fingers quickly moved over her phone. Sia, I should tell Beau to come, she murmured to herself, her heart racing with excitement. This was it. Everything was going exactly as she planned. Sia stopped the car. She said suddenly, we have reached the shop. The driver slowed it down, and pulled over. Sia stepped out without wasting a second and disappeared inside. 2 hours later, back at the house, the enterprise has transformed into a grand wedding venue. The groom's side had already arrived. Voices filled the air, laughter, greeting, whispers, everything blending into a loud, restless atmosphere. The ceremony was about to begin, and yet something felt off. Guests from the groom's side keep glancing at you, mistaking you for Sia. Isn't that the bride? She looks even more beautiful in person. Such elegance. You stood guilty, your heart uneasy, unable to correct anyone. Mr. Choi walked toward Mrs. Choi. His tone urgent. Mr. Choi, is she ready? The groom's family wants to start the ceremony. Mrs. Choi's face turned pale. Mrs. Choi, Sia hasn't returned yet. Mr. Choi froze. What do you mean she hasn't returned? Where did she go? Mister, she didn't like her dress, she said quickly. Her voice trembling slightly. She went to get another one. She said she would come back soon. I have been calling her, but her phone is switched off. Mr. Choi's expression darkened. Mr. Choi, she said she would come back, and you let her go? Mrs. Choice immediately dialed the driver's number. No response. She tried again. Still nothing. Mrs. Choi, the driver isn't picking up. She whispered, panic rising in her voice. Just then, Mr. Kim approached, his presence commanding, his expression serious. Mr. Kim, let's begin the wedding, he said firmly. It's getting late. Mr. Choi forced a smile. Mr. Choi, yes, we will start shortly. But before he could say more, the driver rushed in, breathing heavily. Sir, everyone tried. Driver, I could not find Sia, ma'am, he said nervously. After she entered the mall, a lot of people passed. I went to check, but she wasn't there anymore. The shopkeeper said she left with a man. Silence, dead silence. Mrs. Choi staggered slightly. Mr. Choi's face went completely still, and then Mr. Kim's voice exploded. Mr. Kim, what? She ran away? His anger echoed through the entire hall. You gave us your word, and this is what you do. In front of the media, you destroyed our reputation. His voice was loud enough that everyone nearby turned toward them. Within seconds, the whisper started. What, she ran away? With her boyfriend? On her wedding day? Unbelievable. People these days don't even think about their families. I thought she looked happy. Then why would she do something like this? So all this time she was just pretending with Taehyung. The members screamed louder, spreading like wildfire. Everyone gathered, everyone watching, everyone judging. The grand wedding was turning into a scandal right before their eyes, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Taehyung stood there, his eyes turned red and his face clenched. But needn't stop. If anything, they grew louder, sharper, crueler. Mr. Kim stood at the center, his anger impossible to ignore. Mr. Kim, this is unacceptable. He said coldly, his voice cutting through the noise. Do you have any idea what this means? In front of all these guests, the media, our reputation is ruined. Mrs. Kim stood beside him, equal displeased. His expression filled with disappointment. Mr. Choi and Mrs. Choi stood there silent, shaking, humiliated. Mr. Choi, we didn't know this would happen, he said, his voice heavy. Please try to understand. Mr. Kim, understand? He interrupted sharply. Your daughter ran away on her wedding day and you expect us to understand. Mrs. Choi stepped forward, her eyes already filled with tears. Mrs. Choi, please don't say that. We're already ashamed enough. Give us a little time, we will fix this. But the words sounded weak, powerless. The damage was already done. He stood and watching every second like it was a spectacle. Mr. Choi squeezed his face, his pride, his reputation. Everything was collapsing in front of him, and then, in a moment of desperation, he spoke. Mr. Choi, we still have a daughter. Silence fell again. Mr. Kim frowned. What do you mean? Mr. Choi was sore this time. Mr. Choi, why? She's also a daughter. She has twins. Mrs. Choi had stepped toward him, shocked. Mr. Choi continued, his voice strained. My younger brother. He could not have children. He requested us to give him one of ours. That's why we gave one to him. The truth hung in the air, heavy, complicated, painful. Mr. Choi, she is just as much our daughter as Sia, he said firmly. If Sia is not here, one can take her place. Mrs. Choi immediately grabbed his arm. Mrs. Choi, what are you saying? Her was shaking. How can you drag wine into this? She has nothing to do with it. Her eyes filled with tears. Mrs. Choi, she didn't do anything wrong. Why should she suffer for this? Mr. Choi looked wrong, but he didn't step back. Mr. Choi, if we don't do this, he said quietly, everything will be destroyed. On the other side, Mr. Kim's expression darkened. Mr. Kim, this is not a joke, Mr. Choi, he said coldly. Marriage is not something you replace like this, he added. We agreed to this alliance because of Sia, not someone else. Mr. Kim, this is ridiculous, he continued. We will not accept this. Mrs. Choi broke down. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she looked toward you, standing at the distance, confused. I know that your life was about to change. Mrs. Choi, please, she whispered, don't do this to her. After years argument, tension, humiliation, silence finally fell. All eyes turned to one person, Taehyung. He stood still, his face unreadable, his gaze distant, as if calculating something far beyond what anyone could understand. Mr. Kim spoke, his tone firm. Mr. Kim, this marriage will not happen. It was then, Taehyung, it will. Everyone froze. Mr. Kim turned sharply. Mr. Kim, Taehyung, Taehyung. I said it would happen. He repeated calmly. His first rule but final, I will marry. The room went silent, not because they agreed, but because no one expected that answer. Inside the room, Mr. and Mrs. Choi stood facing each other. Her eyes were red, her hands trembling. Mrs. Choi, I can't do this, she whispered. I can't throw wine into this mess. She didn't do anything wrong. Mr. Choi took a deep breath, trying to stay strong. Mr. Choi, do you think I want this? He said quietly. Do you think this doesn't hurt me? Mrs. Choi shook her head, tears falling. Mrs. Choi, then why? Why are you forcing this? Mr. Choi's voice softened, but it carried weight. Mr. Choi, at first, yes, it will hurt her, he admitted. But she won't suffer like this forever. He stepped closer. This family is powerful, wealthy. She will live a life we could never give her. Mrs. Choi looked up at him, her eyes filled with pain. Mr. Choi, she grew up struggling, he continued, his voice breaking slightly. We could not even keep her with us. We could not give her the life she deserved. His face cringed. My own brother never let us have, not once. A tear streamed down his cheek. If she marries into that family, she will be safe, she will be happy. Mrs. Choi whispered, and her, if she isn't? Mr. Choi closed his eyes. Mr. Choi, then at least we tried to give her something better. A long silence. Then slowly Mrs. Choi nodded, reluctantly broken. Okay, call wine. A maid was sent. A moment later, you entered the room. Your steps were slow, careful. Your eyes moved between them, sensing something was wrong. Wine, you called me? Mrs. Choi could not even speak at first. Mr. Choi forced himself. Mrs. Choi, she ran away. You froze your big stuff. When? But Mr. Choi, she lived with someone else. He said his voice heavy. The words didn't register at first. You shook your head slightly. Why? No, that's not possible. Mrs. Choi stepped forward, holding your hands. Mrs. Choi, why? Listen to me. You looked at her, confused and fear mixing in your eyes. Mrs. Choi, they weren't waiting to continue. She said softly, and I want you to take your space. Silence, deafening silence. You slowly pulled your hand away. Why, no. Your voice was quiet, but firm. I can't do that. Mrs. Choi's eyes filled with tears. Mrs. Choi, when, please, when? I'm not Sia. You say, shaking your head. I can marry someone in her place. That's not right. Mr. Choi stepped in. Mr. Choi, this is not just about right or wrong, he said. This is about everything collapsing if we don't act now. You looked at him, heart flashing in your eyes. When? So I should fix everything. You asked softly. No one answered because they could not. You lowered your gaze. When? If my parents agreed, you said sorry. Then I will. Mr. Choi flinched slightly. That word parents. It hit deeper than anything else. Still he nodded. Mr. Choi, I will call them. The call connected. Mr. Choi explained everything, every detail, Sirius escape, the situation, the proposal. On the other side, silence. Then no, your parents refused. She's our daughter. We won't push her into something like this. Mr. Choi closed his eyes, pain evident on his face. Mr. Choi, please listen. He said, his voice softer now. Let us decide one, just this one. She won't be unhappy there. He continued. We could not give her, we could not raise her the way we wanted. But this marriage, this could give her everything. His voice trembled. We are not giving her to a bad family. We are not ruining her life. We are trying to secure it. A pause, wrong, heavy. Finally, if one agrees, they said quietly, then we won't stop her. The call ended. Mr. Choi looked at you. Mr. Choi, it's a decision. You stood there still silent, then sorry. I nodded, I will do it. Mrs. Choi broke down immediately, pulling you into a tight embrace. Mrs. Choi, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She whispered, her voice shaking. A little later, you sit in front of the mirror. The room was quiet. The beautician had already done most of the work. All that was left was the final touch. Mrs. Choi walked in, holding the bridal veil. Her hands trembled. She stood behind you, looking at your reflection. For a moment you could not move. Mrs. Choi, you look like a princess. She whispered, her voice breaking. Your fingers tightened slightly in your lap. Mrs. Choi slowly lifted the veil. Her hand shook as she placed it gently over your head. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Mrs. Choi, we could not keep you with us, she said softly. We could not protect you. Her voice cracked, and today we're sending you away again. Your eyes fade, but you bring the tears back. Mrs. Choi gently adjusted the veil, her touch lingering for a moment longer than necessary. Mrs. Choi, you won't be unhappy, right? She whispered. You didn't answer because you didn't know. And in that moment, you wasn't just wearing a veil. You was carrying a decision that wasn't truly yours, a life you didn't choose, a fate you could not escape. The wedding began. The hall, once filled with chaos and whispers, solicited into silence as always turned toward the stage. You stood at the entrance, your heartbeat echoed loudly in your ears. For a moment, you could not move. The face slightly blurred your vision, but even through it you could see him standing there waiting, still unmoving. Mrs. Choi, go sweetie. She whispered softly beside you, her voice trembling. You took a step forward, then another. His step felt heavier than a rush, as if he was walking towards something unknown, something irreversible. On the stage, Taehyung stood with his hands in his pocket, his posture straight, his expression calm, almost distant. When you finally reached him, he glanced at you for a brief second, just one look, then looked away, no reaction, as if nothing about this moment affected him. The priest stepped forward, opening the sacred book. Priest, let the ceremony begin. The ritual started. Mantras filled the air. Echoing softly throughout the hall. Place your hands together, he instructed. You hesitated for a second before extending your hand. Then followed. His movements precise, controlled. Their hand touched briefly, no warmth, just contact. Priest continued. Marriage is a sacred bond, a promise of responsibility, respect, and togetherness. Your fingers tremble slightly. Taehyung's grip remained steady, unchanging. Priest, no, the bride and groom will exchange vows. The priest looked at Taehyung first. Priest, do you accept this marriage with full consent? Taehyung didn't hesitate. Taehyung, I do. Your voice fell stuck in your throat. Everyone was watching, waiting. When I do, you whispered. Priest, exchange the rings. You lifted the ring with trembling hands and placed it on his finger. Taehyung did the same. The priest continued with the final rituals, his voice steady and rhythmic. Priest, from this moment you were bound together in the eyes of society and before the divine. A brief pause, then. Priest, you may see the union. There was a slight shift in the atmosphere. You froze. Then looked at you for a second, then reached for your hand, initiated and pressed a light kiss on it. Nothing more, no lingering, no emotion. Just a gesture, formal, distant. Priest, it is done, he announced. From today, you are husband and wife. Applause filled in the hall, but it faded far away. The moment the ceremony ended, they stepped down. Without looking back, without waiting, he walked straight out. Outside, his car was already there. He opened the door and sat inside, his expression unchanged, his mind elsewhere. Behind him, you stood still for a moment, as if your body hasn't caught up with the reality. Then, when Mrs. Shah first spoke, you turned. Mrs. Shah pulled him into a tight embrace, tears streaming down her face. Mrs. Shah, I'm so sorry, she whispered again and again. Take care of yourself, please. Mr. Choi stood beside them, his face heavy with emotion. Mr. Choi, be strong, he said quietly. Everything will be fine. He nodded, even though you didn't believe it. Go there. With so stiff, you walked toward the car, his step taking you further away from everything you knew, everything you was. You opened the door and sat inside, beside him. Silence filled the space instantly, heavy, unspoken. The car started moving, and just like that, a new day began.